All right, back to the classroom. Professor Coomer here. Let's talk a little bit about brainstorming, clustering, and free writing. So first of all, essay one. All right, so essay one is going to be brainstorming, clustering, and free writing. That's going to be part of your assignment. I'm sorry you have to try all three, but let's just take a minute to think about possible stories that you might have in your life. So when you're going to do this, and I don't know all your stories. This is one of the downsides, I guess, to doing this on over virtual, is that we can't really talk back and forth about, hey, what's a story? And the thing is, maybe you don't want to share all the stories. That's fine too. Whenever we're going to be writing for this class, just understand that whatever story you're going to tell is a story that other people in the classroom may read whenever we do our revisions. Okay, so whenever we do revisions, we'll have peer review days where somebody else will take a look at your essay and try to help you come up with edits or revisions as well. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. But if we're brainstorming, let's think about this. What are some stories in your life that you could tell? Now, you guys, I've already told you the story about, the soda pop story. So I'll say the soda pop story. And I don't have to write the whole story out. In my mind, I know what the soda pop story is. Okay, and so maybe you've got the soda pop story, and then maybe you've got some other story, other story. Cool, and maybe you've got a few other stories here, okay? So just think about some stories in your life, and you don't have to have a long sentence. Just kind of think, and this is for your own personal benefit, so you don't have to explain it all because you know the story. But just think about, okay, these are some stories that I learned. Stories that I lived through, okay? Cool, here's some stories. Now, you've got a list, okay? And maybe you don't have, this is one of those things where maybe you're like, man, I don't have any stories here. All I've done is just sat around playing video games, and I don't have any life stories. Well, maybe you have a video game story, I don't know. You gotta think, okay? It's not going to be as easy as, for instance, do you think it was really easy for me to think about the soda pop story? Do you think that's something that I think about very often? I'm almost 40 years old, and so it's not like I constantly am thinking about, yeah, there was that time when I was 4 years old that I, ruined a cup of soda. It takes time. It takes some time and some creativity and some real thought. So don't expect yourself to just instantly have this perfect story. And maybe, I'm not saying that my story was perfect, but it was just an example of you can turn just about anything into some kind of a life lesson. So, okay, so maybe there was a time whenever you said something to someone that you didn't think was going to be hurtful, but they took it the wrong way. Or maybe they took it exactly the way you said it, and you said it in a way that, man, I wish I hadn't said that before. Okay, that's when I learned the lesson to think before you speak. Okay, something like that. Or maybe it was a lesson about, maybe you, I don't know, you broke the law, or you broke your leg, or something where it's like, okay, there was an action and there was a result. And this was the lesson learned, okay? So think about instances in your life where something happened. And maybe it wasn't something that you did wrong. Maybe it was a time whenever someone else did something wrong or something right. Maybe you were there whenever a person, stepped up and did the right thing, and it really inspired you, and that's what taught you that lesson. So really give yourself some freedom, especially when we're brainstorming, because nothing is on paper right now. It's all on, well, I guess technically it is on paper, right? But all it is you're just writing down ideas. These are things that happened, that I've seen, that I've experienced. It needs to be something that you experienced. It can't be something like, my sister told me a story about where, she did this or that. No, it needs to be something you've witnessed, something that maybe it happened directly to you, maybe you did something, maybe someone did something to you, but you need to be involved in the story. This needs to be something where you learned a lesson because of something that happened. So think of things where you probably learned that lesson. Now once you have, okay, cool, I've got these points here, And you don't have to do little points there. I'm just doing that to kind of just say, these are ideas. Now, once you have that, think about maybe the lesson that you learned. Maybe that pride is my worst enemy. Okay? Man, you know, I wish I would have asked out so-and-so to the dance, but I let my pride get in the way and I didn't want to get embarrassed because I thought maybe she'd say no, so I didn't ask her out, and it turns out she liked me the whole time, but, you know, I ruined that opportunity. I don't know, something like that. Pride is my worst enemy, or, you know, and so think about things. The soda pop story, remember, was that, you know, sometimes, and you don't have to write out perfect thesis statements. You could just say, you know, be happy with what you have. Okay? And so what you're doing here is you're trying to come up with ideas for stories and ideas for the whole point of this essay, okay? So how can I connect these two things? And you can make as many lists as you like. This is not something that I'm going to grade for neatness or for some kind of perfection. I just want a bunch of ideas. Get them out. And that is brainstorming. For clustering, let's take a look at what clustering might look at. Now, clustering is basically a very similar thing, but clustering might be something that's, especially for this project, it might be useful to look at this issue in a different way. So, for instance, maybe I might have, what we do is we use circles for this, circles and lines that connect them. So maybe I'm going to think about, what are some life lessons I've learned? Okay, so life lessons. Okay, so maybe I've learned the value of family. Okay, so the value of family. Well, okay, maybe I've learned that. What are some stories in my life that I could tell that will illustrate or demonstrate the value of family? Well, maybe I can tell the story about when my brother saved me from a bunch of bullies when I was in school, when I was a kid, okay? So, brother, and this is a little small, so I apologize if you can't read it, but you understand what I'm saying here. Brother saved me. Okay, maybe another value of family. I could talk about how my grandmother kept the family together when my grandfather died. Okay, so grandma kept family together. Great. Okay, and maybe I might have some other examples of how that worked. Now here's the cool thing. If I want to, I can even make little circles that come out from the story about my brother saving me from bullies, and I could add to that. You know what else my brother did? Well, he also did this other thing. I could tell that story, okay? Or the cool thing is I can also say, what's another value? What's another lesson that I learned? And the idea here is not to make some kind of a formal argument all the way through. It's just to come up with ideas. And the cool thing is I can say, well, I'm going to forget about all this. I'm just going to talk about these two things, and that's all I'm going to do in my essay. The whole point of this is to get ideas out of your head and into a medium that you can mess with them. Maybe a life lesson I've learned was to be content. Okay? So I think it's really important to be content. Okay, great. Well, guess what? I've got my soda story. All right, we know my soda story. Maybe I've got another story that I feel like goes with that kind of a theme. And cool, maybe have another one there. Or hey, I've got something else that I've learned, and I can do the same thing with those, okay? With clustering, what we try to do is we try to think about ideas that sprout out of ideas, things that are related to those specific thoughts, and we kind of let them grow. And so they continue to grow into clusters of ideas. So that is clustering. The last one we're going to talk about is free writing. Now, free writing is kind of hard. It's not something that I'm going to really demonstrate to you on this dry erase board. But what free writing really comes down to is experimental writing or explorational writing. So all you're going to do is you just start writing about stuff. And it's something that, sadly enough, a lot of people do, and they think they're actually writing their essay. That's not what's going to happen here. What's going to happen is about 80% of what you're going to put down will just not be usable. It's going to be stuff that's kind of not really very focused. But the cool thing is about 20% is going to be gold. And what you do is you look at the gold. You say, okay, man, I've really got a cool idea. Yeah, I wrote for maybe about 10, 15 minutes and just kind of let ideas fly. And I'm typing. And I started off with kind of a weird idea. It really didn't go anywhere. Then it went to a pretty cool spot. And then I had a really good idea. So that's what I'm going to write my whole essay about. And so the whole purpose of free writing is just to start writing, but then to come up with an idea. The same purpose is really for all three. So for brainstorming, clustering, or free writing, the whole purpose is to come up with things that you're going to say. You have to have something to say in order for a good communication to take place. So you're trying to come up with that something to say, and you're trying to come up with points or ideas that are going to go along with that. What else can I say about this issue? What's the story that I can tell that will illustrate this thesis that I'm giving, this truth, this thing that I'm teaching you? What is the story that I'm going to use to demonstrate this truth? So this video has covered the invention process. That's that first step on the writing process. So the invention process, again, is brainstorming, clustering, and free writing. The whole point of this is to come up with ideas so that you can actually have something to write about, something to communicate to your audience. And that is what you're going to have to do for essay one. I want you to try all three. You may hate all three. I'm sorry, you got to try all three. But typically, a person will favor one out of those three. And then on essay 2, 3, and 4, you can just do that one that you whatever you like out of this. But I want you to try them all. All right, guys, go ahead and get started.